Hi, Jen.
Hi, friends listening to this. How we doing?
How you doing? Happy week of Valentine's Day.
If you celebrate.
If you celebrate, if you celebrate Single Awareness Day, that's cool too.
Me
I've
as
been there
fuck.
before. Yeah. We're representing both sides of the spectrum.
We
We
are.
just want to say happy belated Valentine's Day to in any shape or form by the time this epi comes out. So,
Period.
yeah.
Love that.
Well, how was your weekend, Jen?
My weekend was good. It was very chill. I told Alex that I made a taco salad, and that's what I've been eating all weekend and today. I think it's ranked probably like number 3 on my favorite foods list now.
That's what we call a classic.
It's delicious.
Oh, so good.
I love it.
Are you a sour cream stan?
I don't mind it. You want to know what I put on mine? And this is so niche.
Don't say ranch.
No.
Okay.
Top the tater.
Whoa.
It's
Are you from the Midwest or are you from
Dude.
the Midwest?
a life-changing taco salad.
I can never remember the name of that. I was shopping for the Super Bowl and I was like, what is that dip that all of you guys get? What is it? And then I just ended up getting a 7-layer taco dip instead, which is still good.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know, and it's called Top the Tater.
Mm-hmm. It's divine.
That is divine.
How was your week? Oh, go ahead.
I think everybody wants to know, like, because you were kind of alluding to wanting a Super Bowl date over the weekend from the last episode.
Not even that. I just wanted... I didn't want to go to a Super Bowl party, but I had no plans. So I was like, if people have plans... what's going on?
Make a plan with me.
I did not have a hot Super Bowl date, in case anyone wants to know.
I
started watching at the halftime show, and I made my taco salad, and I sat down with a spotted cow and just hung out.
Oh my God, Wisconsin
Yeah,
girlies unite.
I had a
Spotted
Midwest
cow.
Super Bowl party.
We love New Glarus.
Yeah.
What did you think of the halftime show?
I thought it was mid. Like, Usher's
Yeah.
cool, but I think I could name like 2 of the songs that he sang.
The cool thing is it's very meme worthy. I know that there will be a lot that comes out of it. My favorite part of it was when Her came out because I'm
Period.
obsessed with Her.
Did you see that people thought it was Northwest?
Shh.
I'm
Can we have a moment of silence for that? Were they all like 20 and under?
I don't know. I just saw it on Twitter.
Northwest is a child still.
Yeah.
She's like 11.
Book, I didn't say it was
I know. I'm getting offended by it.
Honestly,
I'm offended
same.
by it. Mm.
How was your weekend? How was your Super Bowl era?
It was good. It was
Era.
really nice. Era. It was really good. I felt very chill about it. I had a very relaxing weekend for the most part. I went out to a bar to have lunch on Saturday
nice.
just outside of Amnicon Falls.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It was so good. So if anybody's over there camping in the summer, they have a great bar and restaurant. Such nice service and great people.
Is it the one that's like right off the highway?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's
cool.
on the corner. Yep.
Nice.
Lovely place. Lovely ladies too. But yeah, that was kind of my weekend. It was chill, and now I'm back to the work week.
Here we are.
Here we are. But I guess we'll jump into it. So today, what are we talking about, Jen?
We are talking about mental health.
And I think at some point, maybe we'll break this down into smaller sections and really dive into what each element is about, because it's a pretty broad topic.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge topic.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll skim the surface today. We'll hit the tip of the iceberg, and then maybe if there's any requests on specific segues of different mental health discussions we can go into, like let us know in the comments. Hit us up on Instagram. Again, I'm Alex.
I'm Jen.
And this episode of Mental Health is brought to you by Pop and Dot Design and Fabrication out of Duluth, Minnesota, baby.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So I just want to start with a content warning. Some of the things discussed today will be sensitive to some. I don't want to call it a trigger warning necessarily, because sometimes that can even be like a little lucrative. However, please know that if at any point you want to stop listening, please stop listening. We take no offense to it. We understand that mental health is not easy to talk about, to listen to. We're all dealing with it, and sometimes we're just not in the best mental headspace to be in that conversation.
For sure.
Please proceed listening with caution. And if you're with somebody that you love or you yourself are dealing with it and you need help, please let us know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You can always reach out to our Instagram for this, or mine personally. I'm pretty sure you can find me at Jen Kettner on anything. Even if I don't know you and you feel like you need someone, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even just saying that. I have felt alone before and it fucking sucks. So anybody who needs it, we're here for you. Another thing that I think is important to add, and I'll get into it in a second, but first I want to say some people might not see this as a necessity to add or even see a reason for it, but Alex and I were talking before the episode about how we both think this is really important to cover. If you or someone you know, love, or care for struggles with mental health and is in a spot of potential crisis or harm, please call 211, which is the National Crisis Hotline, or 988, which is the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, and you're never alone.
Never. It's going to be really tough to peel yourself out of that negative mindset, mental health. If you're having issues or struggling with it, the feeling of being alone is very apparent. It's overwhelming. It's like this big cloud that never leaves.
It's the worst.
It's really hard to explain struggling with mental health to somebody who may not understand, or maybe it's just a foreign concept. Jen's going to touch on that later in the episode, kind of how things have started evolving around the topic of it. But I'm going to get going.
Go get into it.
Go get into it. So I think that, this weekend is a really good example. I want to start on social media. I think about like Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and like just celebrities and people that we see is a good example. They're people too. And I kind of first want to talk about how dangerous it is being in Instagram and other apps where we just have our opinion so readily available to just broadcast to the whole world, and then people can either agree with it or disagree with it, and then there's like internal comments too that go back and forth. But think about, so there was this moment where Travis Kelce kind of lost his cool and he started yelling at his coach, basically like, you should have kept me in, this wouldn't have happened. And the moment went viral. And immediately people were saying, Taylor's not safe in her situation, or in her relationship. He has anger management issues. Like, he's got this, he's got that. And it's like, wow, we're really jumping that far already.
Kidding.
Over one moment. It's like, he cannot have one single moment of just having a moment, quite simply.
Especially in that high pressure of a situation. Like, calm the fuck down.
No, exactly. Who are we? The people, the couch potatoes, sitting in our living rooms, snacking on Super Bowl.
Me eating a fat ass fucking taco
Exactly.
salad.
Eating our Super Bowl appetizers, and we're like, that's crazy. I can't believe he would do that. That's so wrong. It's like, who are we to judge?
No
Have
kidding.
we ever been in a Super Bowl before?
No.
And if you have,
We'll never.
I'd love to see it. And even the people who have, like, have you ever been the best? I think he's a tight end. Whatever.
I don't like football.
I know you don't. But I think he's like the best in his position in the entire league.
Yeah.
Do you not think that's a lot of pressure? So with that being said, it's like, okay, so now we're thinking of that on a grander scale. I'm sure he's probably taking the next week or two after he's coming down from the Super Bowl win, but being like, oh my God, like, when will they ever leave me alone? And I'm sure that there is some type of struggle there too. I just think about, on my personal level, I think about social media and comparison. Not only like putting yourself out there, which it should be a creative outlet, a way for people to connect with each other and share maybe common interests, but it really is like a 50-50 gamble on whether or not something good or negative comes from it. A lot of social media influencers, I think for myself, I really struggle with what is that called? Like not body dysmorphia, but just like
image.
Yeah, body image. I think everybody struggles with that from time to time, but I think that's one thing that I think I take away negatively from social media is comparing myself to other people, and it's not an accurate place to be comparing yourself to.
Right.
So comparison, everybody says it's the thief of joy. That's something that's so awful, but it just naturally comes with the territory of social media. But then also people just being able to comment whatever they want And then people piggybacking on top of that. I think of Facebook, and they always say like the
God.
Facebook moms in the comments. It's like they're animals. They do not care. And it's so easy for people to just react on impulse. And it's terrifying because the strongest people can read negative comments about themselves or about other things and try not to take it to heart. But it's really tough.
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
Extremely.
So I think that the comment section, very scary place to be. But also, if you're dealing with mental health and you're the type of person who would maybe never comment, don't read through them. What are you doing? Like, just putting yourself in the middle of these people and getting a good laugh out of it, but then you see one that's maybe triggering for yourself, you're leaving your personal mental state up to other people.
And people that you probably don't even know.
No, it's rarely you ever know them. Sometimes they're not even who they're saying that they are. They're just fake people who are trolling the internet, who are trying to comment on things. This year is going to be really tough too because of our election in the fall.
Oh God, yeah.
And this is not a political podcast. We are never going to get into our personal views. I think either side of whoever, Democratic, Republican, whatever avenue that you vote for, or that you are leaning towards, have respect towards each other and do not come for each other online either. I think both for the Democratic and the Republican Party, both gentlemen are very old. They half the time don't know what's going on.
Geriatric.
And I feel like in a way, even though they may do questionable things at times, it's like we need to leave them alone too because they're running our country. That's still like a lot to deal with.
Yeah, no kidding.
With the year coming up, technology is not going anywhere. Social media is not going anywhere. There have been talks of banning TikTok, putting restrictions on Instagram, other places. That probably won't happen. I think people make too much money off of it for that to be regulated for us. So please regulate yourself. Is there anything that you feel is important to add on social media?
I like the last comment you had, the regulate yourself. At the end of the day, the only thing you really have control over is yourself and your actions. So by, like you were just saying, reading those negative comments and just surrounding yourself with that, you're only going to bring yourself down unless you have, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but you're able to just like seek through those and see the positive in all of that or like make a joke out of it. I can't do that, but for those who can, I commend you.
Right. Another thing I want to add before I go on to the next topic is don't doom scroll. There's this thing where it's such a bad toxic habit of if you're waiting in line or you're just bored, it's just like you naturally pick up your phone and you'll just start scrolling through something. And I think a lot for like an older generation, they just start looking through the news or they'll start searching things or maybe shopping on Amazon. It's like, put the phone down.
Yeah.
You don't need to. I think there's a huge misconception and a lot of judgment from the boomer generation, from anybody that's kind of millennial and above. There's this generational understanding of mental health and I feel like it's capped. They can only understand so much. I think they feel like it's a ruse. Like it's just an excuse that, oh, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, they just don't want to work. So they're going to blame their mental health on it. But that's so not the case.
Right.
I think it's like, I even feel like that generation probably has more untapped mental health issues, but they've been taught not to talk about them, to be seen and not heard. Don't talk about your issues. This is normal, so why complain about it type of a thing. And that's really hard to unlearn. And especially when you see all these new generations coming up where we feel so comfortable to talk about it, that's got to be really tough. And it's driving a gap between the two.
No kidding. Especially with, this is just a piggyback off of what you're saying, but the fact that these people haven't really been able to touch into those emotions, they've just suppressed them or whatever you want to call it. There's probably a lot of built up frustration from having to do that. So I totally agree with you. I think our generations just have a better understanding thanks to technology and people on the internet who are willing to put themselves out there and talk about it. It definitely makes me feel like I'm less alone in these things. And I feel like I have a pretty good safe space to talk about that in.
Right. Even if I feel like they have a safe space or people are telling them to open up, I don't think there's anybody or a lot of people like there are for our generation and then people in our age group that are kind of showcasing vulnerability, who are leading the way. There may be a few people who are taking the reins and showing that, but I don't think it's readily accessible because typically a lot of the people I feel like who are a little bit older who could benefit from talking about mental health, addressing it, they're not on social media where a lot of our resources are. You know, you talk about social media being a negative entity in your life, and it's kind of, it has its really, really awful corners and dark spots, but it's also a really great learning platform.
No kidding.
So it's tough to just say, hey, get off of it, because I can understand where the knowledge that you get, like you talk about YouTube or TikTok University, where you're learning so much from it.
Yeah.
That's where I started kind of putting things together for myself before I even spoke with a therapist, where it was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. You know, like childhood trauma is carrying things with you, you know, the way that you respond to things, like they all intermingle. And I feel like that older generation, they're not getting to tap into that because they're not so present on social media.
Yeah, I would agree completely.
I think that what kind of ties in with this is I used to get a lot of grief from people who are older than I was when I first started the workforce or when I was in school, and I would want to use my sick days for personal days, or I would call them my mental health days.
Yeah.
And I think that's where there's a huge divide. And it may not even be by age. It may be by occupation. You know, it could be by, you know, different culture, like how you were raised, depending on the area that you're from. There could be a lot of things that are different, but I know that that's something that was really frustrating for me, where it's like I have these sick days, and I'm not saying I'm sick, but I'm just not feeling 100%.
Right.
I feel like it doesn't need to be so, are you sick? Do you have a fever?
Physical.
Yeah, physically sick. Are you throwing up? You know, do you have the chills? Do you have the body aches? It's so unfortunate that that's what we consider sick.
I agree.
Because I feel like a lot of the times I can operate when I have a cold. Maybe not so much when I have a fever, but there are certain ailments physically that you could consider being sick that I could work through.
Yeah.
It would suck, but I feel like we could both manage.
Absolutely.
But there are mental health days where I'm like debilitated. I can't get out of bed. Maybe it's the weather, maybe it's a combination of things. I've got a lot going on in life, but there are days where it's just like, I just can't put my best foot forward today because I'm either going to snap at somebody, I feel irritable, or it's like, I can't eat or drink. I can't get out of bed. You can see it all over me. It's just, you need a day for you to kind of reset.
Right.
Or just the space to even be like, well, what is this? I can't think of a specific reason why I feel this way, but I can't shake the feeling.
Yeah.
So let's give myself some time to kind of come to terms with what's going on. What do you think about that?
I agree with everything you're saying completely. I think we've talked about this before. I work at Ulta part-time, and that's what got me through college, especially being in a customer service heavy and driven work environment. It is so hard to just go there and put on a smile and act like I want to be there selling these upwards of $100 worth of products. You know what I mean? And just,
which takes like a lot of optimism.
Yeah.
And like you need to be on your game because sometimes, like, unfortunately, you're in a sales role. You need to sell. Like,
Right.
that is your job. So
yeah,
some people may not agree with like trying to sell you $100 worth of product, but that's your job, and it takes a lot of energy and effort, but you also want to be genuine when you're doing it. And when you don't feel yourself, you're not going to be able to perform.
I guess I can talk about this. I don't think this is a bad thing for Clinique, but I used to be a Clinique rep or salesperson, so I would work specifically for Clinique. I take a lot of pride in being positive and being able to like really connect with my customers. At the end of the day, like, yeah, I'm trying to sell things, but also Clinique and myself both take pride in like really getting to know your customers and not just selling them things because you're here
you
to
have
sell.
good intentions. Like, I
Right.
feel if a client were to come up to you and be like, hey, these are my skin concerns, or this is what I'm looking for makeup, and then you didn't have what they needed, or if there wasn't anything comparable to a replacement they're looking for, you'd probably point them elsewhere.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
you know, you're being as genuine as possible, but
Yeah.
they're putting a lot of trust in you to make sure that you're not swaying their judgment.
Right. Absolutely. I bring up Clinique because they have products called Clinique Happy. These products that are based off of being positive and uplifting, whatever. So you know that mental health, or like at least trying to stay positive, is a big part of their brand. So me, like, having mental health struggles and forcing myself to go and sell these happy products is so ironic in a way.
The irony is pretty thick.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like it's almost like a cinematic movie moment where you feel like you're looking at the person, you know they're having a bad day, and they're just miserable, no smile on their face, and they're like, here,
Yeah.
be happy.
Be happy. Literally me last year going through the worst fucking breakup and having to be like, yeah, Clinique Happy. It's just so amazing. And I'm so
Wear this
happy.
on your date nights.
I'm so happy to be selling happy. LOL. I laugh at myself. I digress.
We have to. We have
Yeah.
to laugh through the pain.
Hashtag mental health awareness.
Hashtag smile through the pain.
This is breaking news. Smile through the pain.
We have a lot of breaking news on this platform.
Mhm.
I didn't expect it to
That's gonna be our next merch drop. Yeah.
breaking news.
Breaking news.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I want you to take it away because I feel like you've got you've got the meat of
I
this
do
episode.
have a chunk. I went hard in the
Go
paint
hard.
while making my notes because mental health is something that is of utmost importance to me. As somebody who openly struggles with mental health and has a lot of people in like my, I guess, immediate community of friends and family that also struggle with this, I just feel like I need to do this episode justice. I obviously want to make every episode amazing and absolutely fantastic and enjoyable for you guys, but
This one
this
especially.
one is important. They're all important, but this one is top priority for me. So if I sound like I'm reading from my notes or it's scripted, that's because it is, because I wrote a lot. I wrote my way out, as Alexander Hamilton would say, if anyone gets that reference.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a good one.
I listened to the entirety of the Hamilton soundtrack for a workday last week, and then I followed it up by watching Hamilton. That's how much I love that.
I've never seen it. While you're taking that pause and judging me, my hockey mom, who I'm very close friends with, that I had from college, her and her kids, her two daughters, they love Hamilton,
Me.
and they've shared their disappointment in me. So I'm just saying, I get what a big deal that is to have not seen it.
Yeah.
I might watch it. Okay. But I just feel like I need to want to, because I don't want to force myself and then not appreciate it for what
I
it
will
is.
watch it with you.
Okay. But I still I want to watch it. Right now,
Yeah,
I don't want to.
Just let me know when. You know
Okay.
where I live.
give me 10 years
Get
till it's a classic. And then I'll be like, this hits. This is good.
It came out in like 2015.
I know. So let it
So-
mature 15 years like a fine wine. And so 5 years and I'll watch it.
2030.
2030, baby. That's our year. The year of Hamilton.
It's a date. So Alex and I originally, or when I guess we were brainstorming ideas for podcast episodes, we originally called this one Mental Health Fact or Fad, because we feel like a lot of people either think mental health is a joke and it's not something that is uber serious, or like, you know, the facts behind it. You've been there, you understand it. My perspective is it's a fucking fact, period. There's no other way about it in my eyes. If you have a different opinion, that's okay. We didn't really do a disclaimer of this episode, but
I feel like the disclaimer was definitely, here's a short disclaimer. It's implied at the end of this or at the beginning of this episode, we definitely were like, hey, if this is triggering, and in a sense, if it's triggering to the point where you feel you need to argue the point and say mental health is not important, this and that, take your comments elsewhere.
Yeah.
This is not the place. We're trying to bring awareness to a topic that is extremely touchy. It's very sensitive. It's very real and present. So please don't take that away from the people who are going to relate to this episode. Take your shit somewhere else. I will not stand for anybody doing that.
Period.
If you don't understand, that's one thing, but understand elsewhere.
If I could snap right now, I would. Oh, period.
That was a double.
You know, like they do in slam poetry?
Oh,
like,
yeah. Speak your piece, girl. Speak it.
Speak your truth, queen. Anyways, so disclaimer, if your opinions don't align with ours,
This is
go
the one
away.
where we're like, leave.
Yeah.
Just leave.
Like, just leave.
With the most disrespect. Sorry. Go.
Speak your truth. I feel extremely fortunate to live in a time where mental health is more freely discussed and help especially is more accessible. It might not be easily accessible to some. I, again, am very privileged to be in a spot in my life where I could go to a therapist if I wanted to. I have really great people in my life that are resources and are educated on these things, and I can go to whoever if I need help, right? But I understand that not everybody is that easily accessible to those things. And I think mental health struggles and conversations revolving this have always been around, but especially nowadays, some people probably feel like every Gen Z kid or me, a 23-year-old, has struggles with mental health. I think there's a little bit of truth to that, but not in the way that those people with those beliefs probably mean that to mean.
I think that there's just like generational trauma that
Yeah.
comes with each group of people. Like for millennials, our parents are boomers, and they taught us, don't take a break, don't slow down. Like if you want what you want in life, you want to be successful, you got to burn both ends of the candle at the same time. Like you've got to be putting in 110%,
Yeah.
and you don't slow down. And that's very negative. And I feel like for Gen Z and Gen X, like we're your parents at times, you know, it's like the millennials are now trying to do their best. And I feel like they're almost doing the opposite of what they were taught as a kid, which was really negative and not talking about your feelings. Or, you know, we talk about soft parenting and
Yeah.
things like that, and it can be controversial, obviously. Jen and I had a discussion about this. We won't go into it right now, but it's just sad because soft parenting, as it can be great, I just feel like it's now there are parents that are too lenient, which could then affect like Gen X or Gen Z, that generation of,
Sure.
I don't know, like maybe making things seem much easier. I don't know how to say that, but kind of sugarcoating a lot of things to protect them.
That's a good word.
And then them getting thrown into adult life and trying to be a college student and join the workforce. There's different expectations.
Yeah, I agree completely. Along with that, I feel like maybe some older generations not being on social media like we are. I think I got Instagram and Snapchat when I was in like 6th grade, okay? I've been on socials for a minute.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If I had Snapchat or Instagram when I was in middle school, I don't know if I'd be here. Like, quite frankly, that's a scary place to be. We had MySpace.
Oh.
And MSN Messenger, and that was it. Honestly, we would just spend hours designing our profile page, coding,
Can't relate.
doing I know, but that's the thing, is there was less emphasis on the pictures you were posting,
Yeah.
and more emphasis on, oh, her background is yellow and has sunshine on it. Like, I wonder what kind of music she has posted on her, you know, because you can go to somebody's profile and then as soon as they click on it, it has like an intro song.
Oh.
So it just basically, it like emphasized their personalities rather
love
than
that.
like looks. So it wasn't positive because they had like, okay, I have to educate you on this because it's so funny. And I'm sorry for the segue, but this will be like the lighter part to the episode.
Yeah.
Jen, they had like top friends, and you chose of your friends that you had who was on your like top 5 or top 10.
Oh.
So there was drama. Like if, like, let's say that a guy and a girl were dating, like in 8th grade or something.
Sure.
They were their top 1 and 2, like 1 and 1.
Yeah.
If she drop down to like 2 or 3 or maybe 4, just taken off at all, you knew they broke up.
Tea.
Yeah. Or sometimes, like, if they broke up, the guy would like try and wean her off of the list altogether. So occasionally she'd go from 1 to 3 to like 4 or 5 and then would disappear off.
That is so crazy to me.
Yeah. It's like the original drama of like Snapchat best friends when we could see that.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Wig. My wig is gone.
I snatch your weave.
Literally.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for this educational moment, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you.
And that was PBS special.
Throwbacks without. I'm just going to make theme songs for everything.
Okay. Let's get serious again, okay?
Okay, I guess I can get serious.
Sorry.
You're fine. It was comedic relief.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
It was.
The next thing I have is, I think nowadays, these people who haven't really been on social media for as long as I have, or people in my generation, might think it's trendy or popular or common to struggle with mental health. And obviously there's air quotes around all of those. We don't have a video, but air quotes. There's nothing fucking cool about mental illness, mental health struggles, mental health issues. It's a real fucking issue, and there are real people behind it struggling, myself included. Alex struggles with this. Mm-hmm. If you haven't gathered that already.
That's why we divert so much, is because we get uncomfortable. We're like, ooh, don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
Let's laugh.
I'm just going to go sound clinic happy. I'm so happy.
I'm so happy. Happy.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay.
But I know what you mean. I just want to say something on like the trendy or popular. I think that especially influencers, when they're trying to be relatable, sometimes they'll have these cries of, my mental health is not good.
Yeah.
And I can see, as cringy as that is, that you may be like, oh, just don't. That is the biggest cry for help, actually.
No kidding.
Maybe what they're saying and what they're getting out isn't what they need to be talking about, but I think them trying to communicate that in whatever way that comes off, I think there is truth to that.
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of truth, I wrote, in my opinion, the truth is there's more awareness of mental health these days, right? And that's what we've kind of been chatting about this whole time. In a lot of the cases, I feel like the mental health that's discussed on social media and whatever platforms, it doesn't necessarily have to be like Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, but even like LinkedIn or Pinterest, I would consider social media. Like,
oh my God,
the things you see on there.
I actually just saw a meme today where it's like, whoever said that Instagram was the worst place for like poor mental health, have you ever gone on for LinkedIn for 15 minutes? Oh my God, look at this accomplishment. I just got a promotion. I just got this. I got this. And then it's like, or they're just complaining about a really bad work situation that they just came out of. It's just like, again, you're getting two very distinct ends of the spectrum, which are both negative in some ways. And that's just a lot to put yourself in.
Oh,
but
I
the
agree.
fact it's professional too instead of personal, completely different ballgame.
Yeah. It's a struggle sometimes too on LinkedIn, but
yeah, glad you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever platform you might be on or might be seeing these conversations on, Spotify. We're on Spotify right now. You're going to be hearing about mental health on Spotify, so that adds another one.
Yeah.
But regardless, whatever platform you're on, I feel like the ones that we generally talk about are depression and anxiety, which I definitely relate to both of those.
Same. All who have depression and anxiety say I.
Alex also raised her hand, so I think that counts as two. Maybe she's thinking about you guys. She's raising all of her limbs right now.
It's me.
It's my time to leave. My mom is calling me. I have to go. My mom actually said I can't stay over tonight. Getting back to a little bit more of a serious note, I have some stats that I think are important to share. So according to NAMI, N-A-M-I, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, with data from the CDC, which is Center of Disease Control, 1 in 5 adults experience some form of mental illness, and that was updated in 2023. All of these stats are 2023, by the way. 1 in 20 adults experience extreme forms of mental illness, and 17% of youth, aged 6 to 17, also experience a mental health disorder.
Holy shit.
That's a lot of people.
Look at the youth.
I
That's
know.
what shocks me.
Yeah.
17% is actually a lot. 6 years old?
It's sad.
Y'all,
I
we
know.
gotta do better.
Yeah, I agree completely.
I wonder why that is. Holy smokes.
Yeah. You might be wondering, why are we providing all of these stats to you? We all know Jen's not a number girl. Like,
No. This
not
is
at all.
not a number platform.
No, not at all. We're providing these because it's real. You may or may not know it, but the person sitting next to you on the bus, at a baseball game, at the Super Bowl, you know, on an airplane, whatever the situation, somebody experiences some form of mental illness, right? Whether you can see it on their face, you can read their body language, or you can't. And there's definitely a stigma in Western society of people with mental struggles being unhinged or unstable, absurd. I think people more commonly use the terms like crazy and shit like that, but I don't like using those words to describe people anymore because I think it's extremely uneducated.
Agreed.
Yeah. Some people are good at concealing it, and this is where my personal experience comes in. I would also like to say I'm not ashamed or scared to admit that I've struggled with mental health. I definitely still do. Alex and I talk about this quite often. It's a part of who I am. It's never going to go away. You can't just solve your fucking anxiety and depression by a snap of a finger, you know?
No, it's kind of how they explain grief. Like, it just grows with you.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
You get better at managing it, especially if you're focusing on trying to get to the root issue. You have to think like, okay, is this fact or is it feeling?
Mm-hmm.
That in itself helps quite a bit to weed through whether your feelings are always relevant, but is it relevant to be taking such a hold on you
Right.
in the time that it is? So I totally agree. And the only other thing that I want to say before you move on is they say that the people who hide it the best are the ones who are dealing with the most at times, because look at Robin Williams, Heath Ledger, even Anthony Bourdain. Like, they took their own lives. I am so thankful I have never had to deal with a death stemming from mental health issues personally in my life. But some of the closest people in my life have had family members commit suicide. Just to hear how heartbreaking that is from them, and I'm even removed from that situation, I can't imagine. And they said the same thing. You never would have known.
Yeah.
You never would have known.
It's really scary and disheartening to think about that, especially Robin Williams, like somebody who's so involved in society, somebody who has touched the lives of so many. He was probably on camera one of the happiest people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Then
that's the thing. He was so good at turning it on, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a fly on the wall, but I would love to what his everyday routine was like by himself. Like,
yeah.
I think it would be so important to be able to see what that was like and to share that with people so they can be like, wow, he had it all. And it's still like, that's just another good reason, like having it all, being famous, being loved.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure he had more people who supported him than people who hated him.
I would agree with that completely.
And it's like, you think that he hasn't made, but for him that wasn't enough.
Right.
Because he was still battling internally.
Yeah. That's a really good point to bring up. Yeah. I guess we'll get into a little bit of my personal struggle. I won't dive completely in depth into things because even though I have this platform to share with you guys, I definitely want to keep some things private.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask me things privately and I'll probably share, but I don't see the need to put everything out on the internet. But
boundaries, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Something I do want to share is I used to be one of the people who never discussed mental health struggles, okay? I always went through things like feeling like I had to do it myself. I didn't want to burden other people by like bringing them into it, because you never know what somebody else struggles with. But that's awful that somebody has to feel that. And if I could hug Jen when she was experiencing these things, I would go back and do it. As I've touched on a couple times before and earlier in this episode, I went through a very hard time and dark year last year in 2023, right about this time. And I literally told like nobody what I was feeling. I've had a conversation with my dad recently about this, okay? Because I'm doing a lot better and I feel like I can talk about it. That's why I'm here. But he had no idea that it was this deep. Obviously, like, him and my mom and anybody else in my life could see that things were wrong, but they didn't think it was like awful.
And for context, Jen and her father are very close.
Like, extremely. And my mom and my sister too. Like,
well,
we're very tight-knit. But, like, yeah. For context, that was important to bring in. So I hardly told anybody, okay? There were a select few that I really opened to. Becca, if you're listening, Alex, you weren't there in the beginning, but you came in May, which was extremely important. Yeah. So I bottled things up during the day and at night just kind of forced myself to sit there and think about things. That's not like advice that I want to give to you guys. Don't fucking do that. It is the worst, just sitting there alone in your darkness and feelings.
I will point out though, the best thing that you did was at least you were honest with yourself about what you were feeling. In the times you were by yourself, there are some cases where people will just deny.
Right.
Even in their moments when they're just sitting alone, they're like, nope, I'm good. Like, fake it till you make it kind of a thing. So I'm happy, and I hope that that's something that is well received when you're listening to this, is that Jen was in a really bad place, but she allowed herself to have the first step towards working through it.
Yeah. That's a really good point to bring up as well. Like, obviously don't just sit by yourself and force these awful thoughts upon yourself, but also don't act like they're not there.
Exactly. Yeah. If that's all you can do to start, just start with that. Yeah. That's okay. If that's what you feel like you need in the time, cool.
Yeah, I agree. Again, going back on that, it's not advice by any means, but it's also not the way we should be telling kids and adults or whatever age, whatever gender, wherever you fall on the spectrum of mental health. We shouldn't be telling people to deal with their issues that way. Nobody should have to feel alone in their battle. Actually, ironic, I was just reading my notes and I remembered that a sweatshirt I put on today is about mental health. On the front, it says, "You are enough." And then on the back, it says, "To whoever is behind me, like, the world's a better place with you in it. Love the person in front of you." I used to think things like this were extremely fucking cheesy and so weird, but after experiencing these things in my life, it is just so nice to even get a little sign from a random stranger, whoever, some energy in the world that you're not alone in this. And if I can do that for someone, my life is complete. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm just here to help people at the end of the day.
Imagine strolling through the grocery store, you're having the worst day possible, you're in the checkout line, and then you read somebody's sweatshirt like you naturally do. I read everybody's shirts when I'm in public, and it's just a nice little reminder, everything's going to be okay. You are enough. You're going to make it through this, especially when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
I bet you if you were to wear that sweatshirt every day for a month, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Or if you do, wash it. But but if you were to do that, I bet you, and you just like went out in public, I bet you would get at least 1 to 2 people every day being like, "Thank you, I needed that."
We're going to do a pause for a second, because what you just said is exactly why I bought this sweatshirt. So I bought it off of TikTok, okay? Judge me all you fucking want, whatever. But I believe it was a man or maybe non-binary person. So this person bought this sweatshirt and they are a DoorDasher or Uber Eats person, somebody that delivers food. And they were talking about how one of their most common routes is delivering coffee to like nurses and doctors at the hospital. And they noticed that any time that they were wearing that sweatshirt, people would stop them and thank them or just say like, you don't know how much the people here need this. So now they wear it every single time that they like do orders to the hospital or like to a high traffic place.
Magical.
Isn't that cool? I'm not even kidding. I cried about it. I probably never would have bought something like this because it's not really me, but the fact that somebody had that powerful and intense of connections with these strangers, I think that is beautiful.
And what's great about it is it was such a simple gesture and you didn't have to say anything.
No.
Sometimes the worst part is when you can see that somebody's struggling and you want to say something, but it is not your place.
Right.
Because unless you know that person, even sometimes if you're very close with them, tread lightly because you really never know. That could be their tipping point, and not saying like tipping point in a super negative way or like in a very serious way, but just there also needs to be a respect for people going through something and to give them the space to come to you.
Yeah.
If you are a supporting role, I think about that gentleman passing along that message to somebody without having to say it or to put them on the spot and be like, hey, I see that you're having a tough time. Say that with just a simple message and support them.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how great that felt.
I agree.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Such a cool story, Jen. I'm glad you shared that. And love the sweatshirt, by the way.
Thanks. For those, well, we don't have a camera, but it is a brown sweatshirt. It is super soft and comfy. Did I say comfy?
Couldn't tell you.
Comfy.
Comfy.
LOL. I make myself laugh. But yeah, if you want the link, I'll send it to you. It also goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You never know who's sitting next to you, who's, you know, helping you at the grocery store, who is wherever in your life that you're going to run into somebody else. And if you can do a simple gesture, even giving somebody like a fucking smile, that is something that means a lot to anybody, I think, whether they react to you or not. It's just simple things in life that can really make a difference to those who are struggling. I speak to myself, you know. Not everybody shows it, but mental health struggles are facts. They're not jokes. They're not things to be taken lightly. It's not a political scheme. It's not, those Gen Zers are just all mentally fucked. Get over yourself. That's not true.
And if you're joking about it, let's say that you don't believe in it, but you are still joking about it. What is wrong with you?
I agree.
What in the off chance that it actually is true? You want to be that awful person that's just putting extra negativity into the world? Like these people, if you don't believe it, like think about the idea of it in itself. Let's say that it doesn't exist, but it's just the idea of it. What? You're making fun of that? What is wrong with you?
Pick something else.
Oh my God, get a hobby.
Yeah. Go knit.
I was going to say join a running club. Sorry.
We should do an episode on running.
No, we should not.
I agree.
We should do an episode where we have to record while we're running. That'd be hilarious. We'll shelf that.
I'm staying silent because ew.
I know. The more we talk about it, the worse it gets. So
you already yell at me all the time for moving my mic too much or moving away from my mic. So imagine me running.
Yeah, but that's intentional because I would also be doing the same thing too.
Alex, my mental health is not good right now.
Be passed out on a curb like a block back.
Literally, I can't. Oh, goodness. All of this to say, people who don't struggle with these issues you need to know that not every single person who faces these challenges will directly say it to somebody's face. Okay? Mental health struggles are facts. Sure, we definitely have seen an increase in the last, since 2000, maybe I'd say, since the internet was really, starting to kick off or be a thing. But it's 100% because we're progressing into a society that is allowing people to feel more comfortable in discussing these things, and we're bringing mental health struggles to light. Yeah, I feel like that's really all I have to say.
Okay. I think everything that we've talked about thus far is great. We've been reflecting on it, kind of pointing out the dark spots in life where you can see mental health struggles are stemming from.
Yeah.
But now let's get into some more positive things on the things you can control and bring into your life to kind of maybe pull you out of that darkness.
Yeah.
I really want to talk about therapy. I found, and with talk therapy too especially, I get it. I was there before and I was like, I don't need it. I don't believe in it. It's uncomfortable to think about being so vulnerable with a stranger and just divulge everything that you've ever felt, all your deepest, darkest secrets, things that you've been carrying that are really heavy, and giving it to that stranger. But you have to think that that's a relationship you're going to have to build. If you're with the right therapist, whatever form of therapy that you're doing, you build that relationship with them and you can gradually open up. Like, it doesn't need to be an all or nothing thing. And that's one thing that's where you can just gradually open up and start at a very small level and then work your way towards those bigger things.
Yeah, it's like any relationship. You can't just be besties immediately, even though I tend to become besties with everybody immediately because that's who I am.
Right.
But that's just not realistic.
No, and especially when you're talking about maybe some scary things, you're not going to bond like you would just a normal relationship. But please be picky with who you're picking.
Yeah.
When it comes to your therapist, if you feel like you can't trust them, or you feel like your personalities don't mesh well, or there's something that's just telling you that this isn't the right fit, please don't force it, because it's only going to hinder you from getting the most out of that experience. Be open to different types of therapy. I started with EMDR therapy, and what that is, it's like it's a rapid eye movement. So it basically, I was holding like these little like electrodes in my hands, and I got to pick the type of vibration and the like basically how fast or slow I was feeling those.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a meditative state that it got you into. So you were able to kind of take these memories that are like buried deep in your subconscious if you did the exercises properly, and you could then access them. Because what therapy does is, if you're hitting those deep triggered issues, a lot of the things that you're currently feeling stem from other things.
Oh, absolutely.
So you got to hit that. You got to make sure that you're tackling the main issue, and then the rest you can focus on afterwards. So I did EMDR therapy. I've done talk therapy. I've been doing talk therapy the last half a year now, I would say.
Yeah.
And the best sessions that I have are on days when I feel like I don't have anything to talk about.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, wow, I haven't really been going through anything. I don't even know what I'm going to say. Maybe I should just cancel it. Those are the days where I just naturally start pushing things that I assume aren't a big deal to the wayside. And then we start talking more and they just come to surface, and I'm like, oh, wow, that was really bugging me. And I would have never known. And chances are I probably would have brought it up, in a few weeks.
Right.
Because I just let it sit under the rug and brushed it there. So
that's super cool.
Yeah, it is. And it's nice too, because one thing I struggled with before therapy was putting that pressure unknowingly on other people. Jen kind of touched on not feeling very good when she felt like she was burdening people, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else is going through other things too. So why bring your things onto them, even if they say, yeah, that's totally fine, I can handle it. It's a double-edged sword. Like, maybe they're being too nice, or maybe they'll tell you like, hey, I actually can't handle that right now. Without that being said, therapists are a great neutral party. That is what they are there for. Right. They are there for you. A lot of the times too, it's just nice to be able to maybe speak an irrational thought, and you're like, oh, that was so stupid. Like, and then they're like, no, don't talk about yourself like that. You have that feeling, totally valid. Now let's just talk about why you keep talking like that about yourself. It's so great. It's just, I can't speak about therapy enough. So please, if you're scared to do it, at least reach out and get more information on it if you feel like that would be helpful.
I've done that as well. And one thing that I've really looked into is BetterHelp, because Alex and I have discussed
that's where I started. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't been in therapy, but I've definitely considered it before. But when I was looking into it, I looked at BetterHelp, not sponsored. But if they want to,
Hey, it's Jen and Alex with the Call It Podcast.
you know where to find me.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I liked about at least trying to discover if therapy was right for me was you could really like, I don't know the word I'm trying to, Build-A-Bear just came to my mind. Like you can almost build
Customize
a therapist. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So build your own therapist. You could pick if they like specialized in LGBTQ, or if they were a man or a woman or non-binary, or
their religious views.
Right.
Do you want them to challenge you? Do you want them to sit and listen? Do you want them to give you homework? You literally will go through this questionnaire on BetterHelp, and they will put somebody in your area. So for us, we're in Duluth. I got matched with somebody in Minneapolis. That's still beyond local. Like that is doable. You have the option to either text, call, or FaceTime them, or have a video call. It's great.
I think for those who could really benefit from it, that's an awesome program. I ended up feeling that it probably wasn't right for me, at least at this time, but I think it's a great resource if you really need it.
When you're ready.
Yeah, exactly. If you feel like, even if you just need more research, I would start there. That's
absolutely awesome.
Yeah. One thing that I think is also important to bring up is taking a break from technology. And as Alex and I being both graphic designers, it's really, 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 really hard to get away from technology.
Near impossible.
Yeah. I always want to be on my computer because I'm on my computer for 8.5 hours a day at work.
That's, when you say it like that, it's crazy. Jarring.
Yeah. And then I go home and eat, and I live alone, and I am scared of living alone, or at least like somebody breaking into my apartment. So to get my mind off that, I'll like put a YouTube video on or something.
More technology.
So, exactly. Yes. Shout out Frank Watkinson, the elderly man that I love on YouTube. Sometimes I'll just like play his music in the background on YouTube.
Oh, I remember you talking about him recently. Thanks,
if you're
Frank.
listening, you mean a lot to me. But we also need a break from tech, right? So one thing that really helps me at least get into a little bit better of a mental health mindset, or reset, I think is a good word, is shutting all the screens off, putting my phone on silent, putting my watch on silent, or just completely taking it off, and either picking up a book or focusing on the basket of laundry that's been sitting on my floor for a week and a half, or even just doing the dishes, something as that seems kind of like a mindless activity, but just being able to turn your intrusive is probably a good word. Intrusive thoughts, turning those off for whatever, like 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long you want to take a break, and just focus on yourself and the things that you could benefit from for a while. I wasn't having the best mental day like 2 nights ago. We're filming this on a Monday, so maybe like a Friday or a Saturday. Not anything bad. I was just like kind of grumpy, whatever. So I did just that. I turned everything off, picked up a book that I've been reading for a month or so, and just sat for a while. And at least me personally speaking, that's something that is amazing for me. Not worrying about who's seen my Instagram story, not worrying about what music is playing on Spotify in the background. You know what I mean?
I agree. That made me think of keeping your space clean.
Oh, yeah.
Because something for me, when I get overwhelmed, or especially when I'm feeling anxious, I don't feel like I deal with bouts of depression anymore. But when I feel really anxious or overwhelmed, a lot of the times I'll, like you said, leave the laundry unfolded and then it piles up. But then it does exactly what I don't want it to do, is not having clean space makes me more anxious.
Right.
But if you can just pick up after yourself, if you're in a clean area and it's not cluttered, like a clean area is a clean mind.
Yeah.
Love. So technology, I made a little funny in the notes. I said technology rehab, but
I didn't want to steal your thunder.
No,
since you
no.
wrote that.
I almost didn't say it, but Jen brings up a good point. Another thing that it's really important not to do when you're spending a lot of time alone or just in general is referring to alcohol or drugs, even on a social level when you're just occasionally having it. I am from a very small town in the Midwest, multiple small towns actually, and growing up, you just went and you drank. That's what you did. Even if it was for good or for bad, it was like, oh, you just went through a breakup? Like, girl, let me take you to the bar. Like, we'll have a good night. We'll forget about him. Don't worry about it. Oh my God, what? That's crazy.
That's such a Midwest thing, too, especially Wisconsin. Like,
ugh, God. I know. But socially, your alcohol, that's going to enhance those feelings that you have. It's also going to make you feel more open to being vulnerable. A lot of the things that I realized when I was in college and I had a lot of things on my mind and a lot of stress, and that's when I did feel very depressed, was I would go out and drink and have a good time with my friends, but a lot of the times what I said or what I did not align with me as a person.
Yeah.
So then I would feel anxious and embarrassed and awful about it the next day. And then, oh, what did I do to get over that? Oh, we'll just go out and have a good time and it'll be better this time.
Right.
And instead of actually addressing those things, I can't say that I dabbled too much in drugs. I have really only ever had THC products before besides alcohol, but anybody else, it's like, it's an escape mechanism for a lot of people. And I feel like it's so normalized sometimes. Take a step back. I'm not saying that you have an addiction, that you've got to quit cold turkey, but I'm just saying that scientifically speaking, those will enhance those negative feelings that you have, and it could potentially put you in a dangerous situation to where you're going to make a decision that you'll have to pay for at the end, which just is not helping your mental health journey. So
I think that's a really good point to bring up. And like you just said, it's not necessarily an addiction by any means. I think that's a really strong word, but just being able to recognize, like, oh, maybe this isn't the healthiest habit I have. Maybe I don't need to go get wine drunk with the girls to get over this man. You know, or
but it's okay. Just don't make that your go-to.
Right. Yeah. We're not saying like you can't do that. But maybe let's not do it every single time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or where it's like 3 p.m. and you're like, oops, starting to feel some feels. Crack the bottle of wine open. Wine night at 3 p.m.
Hey.
So that's kind of my spiel on that. That's very specific to a smaller group of people. But I would just say, you know, if you're 21 or over, or even if you're younger and you're using alcohol or drugs, just be mindful of what that's doing to your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's really important to add. Good job. I like that.
Thank you.
Something else that I wrote, and it already ties back into what I was just saying before Alex's comment. Seeking out other resources, specifically like books, podcasts, documentaries, whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be therapeutic or like mental health resources by any means, but if there's a new book that your favorite author just put out and you think that would help you, go pick it up. Or like something that I love doing when I'm feeling down, maybe it's not even a mental health spell or whatever you want to call it, but I just need a little pick-me-up. I'll go to like a vinyl shop and find things. And there's one, I don't remember what it's called, but it's by 190 in Duluth. It's a new one. It's got River in the name, but I went a couple weekends ago and I wasn't really looking for anything specific. Sorry, this is a random story to bring up, but I wasn't really looking for anything specific. I just like the vibes when I go vinyl shopping because the people are just a different breed. They're usually so nice. And I found a vinyl that I have wanted for a while. I talked about this last week, but I got a Death Cab for Cutie vinyl. The Plans, that your song that you love is on there. And I was like, oh, you're coming home with me, right? So I picked this up and immediately go to the checkout. Like, I'm done. And the guy working was like, oh my God, we just put this out like this morning. I knew it wasn't going to last. I was like,
meant to be.
Literally. I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy I was able to come here today and find it. And he was like, I am so happy for you that you found it today and that you felt called to be here. And it's just things like that that really resonate with me. Like,
wow.
Maybe I'm not expecting anything from this vinyl run, you know, but this guy is telling me, like, you were meant to be here. It was your timing, you know, and that is really reassuring to me.
Absolutely. Also, let the record show that it's River City Records.
Yes.
In Lincoln Park of Duluth, Minnesota.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Whoever this man was that I was talking about, the Death Cab Cutie, I didn't even say that right. You know what I'm talking about. The man that I was talking to about this vinyl, if you're listening, you probably are not, but if you are, you were very kind, and I needed that day. So
yeah. Thanks for sharing your kindness.
Yeah. That's about all I have for that. It's just, I don't think there's a limit or really a name to all of the resources that you can find, but specifically for me, like doing things like that, or when I feel like wanting to be on technology, I'll make extremely specific Spotify playlists.
Oh, yeah.
That's something I love.
It's a good way to express your emotions.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will say that one of my favorite podcasts ever for mental health, I believe it is the #1 mental health podcast in the world, is On Purpose by Jay Shetty.
Ooh.
He is the most wonderful human being ever. He has such a unique perspective because he actually spent 3 years as a monk, and which was very different from his lifestyle. So if you listen to his podcast, he'll go more into that. But he basically spent so much time with himself, not around the materialistic things, not focusing on anything other than his place in the world, how he views himself, how he views the world, his values. And then now he started this podcast and he's interviewing some of the most incredible doctors, incredible people who are sharing their stories. It is a wonderful resource. So On Purpose by Jay Shetty. I think it's on Spotify and Apple, but for sure assume. Spotify. Yeah. So the last thing that we kind of want to talk about is taking care of yourself in general. We listed off a bunch of random stuff, but at the main core of everything, do what you feel is going to make you feel the best. So I think that's like, get to the gym, move your body, go on a 30-minute walk, go on a 10-minute walk. There is a book that I was reading and it was talking about how, I think it's called the Infinite 1%. And a lot of people, they beat themselves up because it's kind of, they have this all or nothing mentality. It's like, well, I was going to the gym for a month straight, but now I haven't gone for 2 weeks. So now I'm starting all over. It's like, no, you're still going to the gym. You just are taking some time off. So They talk about the 1%. Give yourself credit for the 1% of the time that you're doing something, the goals that you're working towards. It doesn't need to be 100 or none. It could be 50%, 70. It could be 3%. It's okay.
Yeah.
But make an effort for yourself. Make sure that your intentions are good, however you're going about any of these resources. So I said, move your body, eat well. Make sure that it's so easy to just instantly gratify yourself with sweets, with whatever you want. But sometimes that is a comforting thing. If you feel like there's a good balance, I would say go for it.
Yeah.
But I do know that a lot of people revert to eating as like a stress, what would you say that is? Like a
coping mechanism?
A coping mechanism, absolutely. So it's just, everything's always in moderation. We do not judge here.
No.
If that is something that you struggle with, I get it. I think that I've experienced it in the opposite, where I don't eat as much because of my stress, because of the way that I'm feeling maybe some days. But that's something that I need to always put at the forefront is, Alex, you got to eat good today. So if you're not going to eat as much, at least get some carbs for energy, at least get some veggies in there, like being intentional with what I'm eating at least.
That's a really good way of phrasing it, being intentional with what you're putting into your body and what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleeping well. If you're not sleeping well, you're not giving your body the time to heal. Your brain needs to heal. It needs to have some time away from the reoccurring thoughts. Maybe the number of thoughts that you're having, a lot of anxiety that I experienced and that Jen experienced would be, you can't turn your brain off. It would be so interesting to put our thoughts on a projector and just see all the different topics and things that we're worrying about, that we're stressing about, and it's just constantly on a spinning wheel.
No kidding. Yeah.
So give your brain a rest. Take care of your brain. He, they deserve it.
Yeah.
Okay. Drink water. I know some people don't like the taste of water, but there's so many other resources at our fingertips that attempt to make water taste good.
Yeah.
It is the best thing for you. It helps your physical health, your mental health, just your clarity throughout the day. That is huge. So if there's something that we haven't listed, if it has a positive outcome to it potentially, give it a go.
Yeah.
If you even just research mental health online, there's so many resources out there. Before we leave for the day, I do want to just read again. If you or someone you know, love, or care for struggles with mental health and they're in a spot of potential crisis or harm, please do not hesitate and call the following numbers: 211, the National Crisis Hotline, or 988, National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Jen said it. You're never alone. We are here for you. If it's as much as you reaching out to us through the comments or through Instagram or through email and you said, I need help, we will put you in touch with resources.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%.
That's what I want to end on. Jen, do you have any closing remarks?
You're so funny.
Sorry, I was just trying to bring it light again.
You did. Yeah, I don't feel like I have a ton left to add extra comments to, but I probably should have said this at the beginning, but if there's one episode that you should listen to, I feel like it's
this one.
Yeah.
She's a lengthy one.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm. But lots of good content in here. If you guys want us to emphasize on more, please let us know.
Yeah.
Even if you don't let us know, we'll probably do it anyways. So keep a lookout for future episodes on mental health and breaking down certain things. We'd love to talk about it more. So
yeah,
I think we should sign off.
Signing off.
This
This is Jen Kettner signing off.
And this is Alex Harum reporting live from the Duluth Pop and Dot studio. Signing off.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.